Welcome to Shivjyoti Educational Group Kota. Online classes. Today we are going to start with class 12th English Flamingo, second chapter Lost Spring by Anis Jung. This story consists of two stories. The first story is about Sahib Alam, who is a wreck picker, and second story is about Mukesh, who is a son of Bengal maker. Let's start with the introduction. The story Lost Spring describes the pitiable condition of poor children who have been forced to miss the joy of childhood due to socio-economic condition that prevails in this man-made world. These children are denied the opportunity of schooling and forced into labor early in life. Anis Jungs gave voice to eliminate child labor by educating the children and to enforce the laws against child labor by the governments strictly. The call is to end child exploitation and let the children enjoy the days of the spring that bring joy under their feet. Let's start with the detailed explanation of the story 1, that is about Sahib Alam. The paragraph which I am explaining is: first, sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage till big city where he now lives. Every morning, the writer sees a young rag picker boy who visits the garbage dump near her house and searches for gold in it. The writer says that he searches for gold ironically because although the garbage dump is full of useless, thrown away things, still he shuffles it so minutely as if he will get something as precious as gold from it. The boy's name is Sahib. His home in Dhaka was in the middle of the lush green fields. Dhaka, it is situated in Bangladesh. They had left it many years ago and he does not remember it anymore. His mother had told him that there were many storms which destroyed their homes and fields. So they left home and shifted to the cities in search of gold. The writer again says, looking for gold in the big city. Gold here refers to something precious which was not available in their hometown. Things like shoes, money, bags, etc. were meant for children, and food, clothing, shelter as the means of survival for their parents. The boy searches for such precious things in the garbage dumps. One day, the writer questions Sahib and asks him the reason for shuffling through the garbage. Next paragraph is: I have nothing else to do, he mutters, till corner of his bleak world. Here the writer explains. She says Sahib replies to the writer that he has nothing else to do other than rag picking. The writer suggests that he should go to school. She realizes that her advice is meaningless for the poor boy. He replies that there are no schools in the area where he lives. He also assures her that he will go to school when one is built near his house. The writer asks him jokingly if she opens a school, will he attend it? Sahib says yes, he would like to join the writer's school. And when after few days he meets the writer, he runs towards her and asks her whether her school was ready. The writer replied that it takes a lot of time to build a school. She felt ashamed of making a false promise. She had said this as a joke and had never intended to open a school. So she felt ashamed of herself. Sahib was not hurt because he was used to such false promises, as they existed in large numbers in his empty world. He was surrounded by such false promises made by everyone around him. His world was empty as no promise made to Sahib was ever fulfilled. Next paragraph is: after months of knowing him, I asked him his name, till down from the shelf he answered simply. Here the writer had known Sahib for a few months. When he asked his name, he replies as if he was making an announcement that his name was Sahib Alam. The writer thought that the boy did not know the meaning of his name, and if he comes to know that his name meant Lord of the Universe, he would not be able to believe it. His name was opposite to his life. He went around the streets with a group of friends. It was like an army of boys who did not wear any footwear. They appeared in the morning like the morning birds and disappeared at noon. The writer could recognize all of them as she had been seeing them for the past few months. The writer asked one of them that why was he not wearing any footwear. The boy simply replied that his mother did not get them down from the shelf. As they were beyond his reach, he did not wear them. Next paragraph is, even if she did, he will throw them off. Explain away a perpetual state of poverty. Here, the author who was wearing, sorry, here another boy who was wearing a different shoe in each foot said that even if his mother would give him the footwear, he would have thrown it away. He meant that the boy was not wearing footwear because he did not want to wear one. The writer asked the second boy the reason for wearing a different shoe in each foot. He did not reply and shuffled his feet as he tried to hide the shoes. The third boy spoke that he was eager to get a pair of shoes as he had never owned one all his life. The writer takes the example of shoes to highlight the condition of these boys. They searched the garbage dumps looking for such precious things. She further tells us that as she travelled across the country, she had seen many children walking barefoot in the cities as well as the villages. They reasoned that they were barefoot not due to lack of money to buy footwear, but being barefoot was a tradition for them. The writer wondered and concluded that the reason of it being a tradition was a mere excuse to hide the fact that they were so poor that they could not afford footwear. Next paragraph is, they have lived here till for a child it is even more. The rag pickers had been living illegally in Simapuri for the last 30 years. They have occupied the area without government permission or ownership. The politicians of the area have provided them ration cards and voter identity cards. They got grocery for their family through these ration cards, and in return they cast their votes in favor of the politician who had helped them. The writer asked a group of women who were wearing torn saris that why did they leave their home in Dhaka. They replied that if they were able to satisfy the hunger of their families and sleep well at night, they were happier to live in Simapuri rather than their fields in Dhaka, where they were ruined and gave them no food. These people travelled in search of food, and wherever they found food, they set up temporary homes and started living there. Their children kept on growing there, and gradually they also started helping their parents in seeking means of survival. For those who lived in Simapuri, the means of survival was rag picking. As they had been doing it for many years, they became trained at rag picking and did it well. For the rag pickers and garbage was as precious as gold. These families searched the garbage dumps and got things which they sold to fund their food. They gathered torn or damaged sheets which were used to cover the roof of their homes. They did not cover them well, but still provided them with some protection. Next paragraph is, I remember a story, a man from UDP. Till rag pickers in my neighborhood remain shoeless. The writer narrates a story told to her by a man from UDP. UDP, it is a town in Karnataka. When he was a young boy, he would walk to his school. On the way, he would cross a temple where his father worked as a priest. He would stop at the temple and pray to God to bless him with a pair of shoes. After 30 years, the writer visited the town and the temple. Now the place was nearly empty. The new priest lived in the backyard of the temple. Plastic chairs in red and white color were kept there. A young boy came running. He was wearing grey colored school uniform, socks and shoes. He had a school bag hung on his shoulders. He threw it on the bed and ran away. The writer wants to say that the financial position of the priest at the temple had improved over the last 30 years. Now he could afford shoes for this children. She was reminded of another boy who got a pair of shoes. He prayed to the goddess that he may never lose the shoes that he had got. The goddess had granted his prayer as boy never lost his footwear. Next paragraph is my acquaintance with the barefoot rag pickers till drainage or running water lived 10,000 rag pickers. The writer describes the area where these rag pickers boys live. Simapuri, located on the outskirts of Delhi, was very different from the capital of the country. In 1971, when these rag pickers had migrated from Bangladesh, the area had been a wasteland. Simapuri was still a wasteland, but now it was not empty as almost 10,000 rag pickers lived there in structures made of mud with roofs made of thin sheets of tin or plastic material called tarpaulin. There was no sewage, drainage, or running water facility in Simapuri. They lived in unhygienic conditions. It was a piece of wasteland where the garbage of the city was collected. These people had started living there illegally. Next paragraph is I sometimes find a rupee, even a 10 rupee note, till intently is out of his reach. Sahib was happy to say that sometimes he found a rupee and even a 10 rupee note in the dump, as one often finds even a silver coin in the garbage dump. He kept on searching, hoping to find more. For the children, the garbage dump was a means of fulfilling their dreams, although partially, while to their parents, it was a means of aiding survival by providing the basics food, clothing, and shelter. One winter morning, the writer saw Sahib standing by the fence of a club. He was watching a tennis game being played by two young men. Sahib liked the game but could not play it. He told the writer that he went inside the club when it would be closed. He was allowed to take swings by the guard then. The writer saw that Sahib was also wearing tennis shoes. They did not match appropriate with his dress, which was worn out and had faded. He told the writer in an attempt to justify himself that someone gave him the shoes. She, however, figured out that he had got them from a garbage dump. They must have been thrown away by a boy from a rich family as he did not want to wear them anymore. Probably they had a hole or two in them due to which he did not want to wear them. On the contrary, Sahib was not bothered by this fact and had no problem wearing them as he could not afford anything better than that. He walked barefoot and to wear a shoe even with a hole was like a dream for him. Although, due to the garbage dump, Sahib's dream of wearing shoes had been partially fulfilled. Next paragraph. This morning Sahib is on his way till Sahib is no longer his own master. The explanation is one morning the writer met Sahib who was on his way to the milk booth. He was holding a steel container. He told her that he had got a job at the nearby tea stall. He would earn 800 rupees a month and get meals twice a day. The writer asked him if he liked the job as he could see that he had lost the carefree look. As now Sahib was working for someone else and was carrying his master's container, he was burdened with responsibility. Earlier, as a rag picker, Sahib would carry his own bag and was his own master. Now he was no longer his own master. So, here this is the end of the first story. Let's start with the second story. I want to drive a car. The paragraph is Mukesh insists on being his own master till bangles of all the women in the land it seems. The explanation is the writer met a boy named Mukesh who aspired to become a motor mechanic. She asked him if he knew anything about cars. The boy was confident and replied that he would learn to drive a car. His dream was far away from reality, and although the boy was confident, he would succumb to the societal pressures. He lived in Firozabad, which was famous for glass bangles. The writer felt that the boy's dream would not materialize and gradually get influenced by the dusty streets of Firozabad. She wanted to say that as every family in the town of Firozabad was involved in the glass bangle industry, so would Mukesh do with the passage of time. She tells us that Firozabad was the main town of India for the glass blowing industry. The families had been involved in working at furnaces, yielding glass, and making bangles for generation. They made so many bangles that it seemed that they had bangles for all the women of the world. The next paragraph is Mukesh family is among them till and pushes it open. Mukesh family was also involved in the profession of glass bangle making. They were not aware of the law. They did not know that it was unlawful to force children to work in such glass furnaces. The workplaces were hot, dark, closed rooms without ventilation. The writer felt that if the law would come into force, it would rescue almost 20,000 children from these inhuman places where they were forced to work hard during the daytime. They often ended up losing their eyesight also. Mukesh was happy as he took the writer to his home. He felt proud as he informed her that it was being renovated. They walked down streets which were full of garbage and gave foul smell. The streets were lined with slums which were unsteady. The walks were falling apart, the doors were unsteady, there were no windows and were full of families where people lived along with animals. They reminded the writer of the prehistoric man who lived just like animals. Mukesh stopped in front of one such door, hit it hard, and with his foot pushed it open. Next paragraph is we enter a half built sack till her husband Mukesh and their father. The house where Mukesh lived was partially constructed hut. In one corner was a firewood stove made with dead grass. A vessel with spinach leaves was kept on it on the ground. There were more plates with chopped vegetables in them. There was a thin young woman cooking the evening meal for the family. Her eyes were full of the smoke emanating from the stove, but he was still but she was still cheerful and smiled to see the writer. She was the wife of Mukesh's elder brother. Although she was not much older than Mukesh, she was a responsible person and was worthy to get respect from the family as the daughter-in-law of the family. She took care of three men, her husband, Mukesh, and their father. Next paragraph is when the older man enters. Till lineage ever been broken, she implies. As Mukesh's father entered the house, the daughter-in-law hid behind the wall and covered her face behind her veil. It was a tradition for the daughter-in-laws to hide their face in the presence of the older male members of the family. The elder here was a poor bangle maker. He had worked hard all his life, first as a tailor, then as a bangle maker. He was still not able to either renovate the house or send his son to school. He had just managed to teach him the skill of making bangles. Mukesh's grandmother justified her son by saying that he was destined to make bangles as it had been their family profession. She had seen her husband become blind due to the dust from polishing the glass bangles. She said that their family had got this art of bangle making from God, and so they had to carry on the tradition. The next paragraph is born in caste of bangle makers till eyesight before they become adults. The explanation is they were born in a particular caste which had to follow the profession of bangle making. All their life they had just seen these glass bangles. They were everywhere, in the backyard, in the next house, in their yard, and even in the streets of the town. There were huge spiral bunches of bangles in different colors like gold, green, blue, pink, purple. There were bangles of all the colors of the rainbow. Further, the writer says that there were bangles in the neglected yards also. They were dumped on handcarts for sale. They were pushed by men along the streets of Firuzabad. The writer also describes the environment where these bangle makers worked. They were small, dark huts. The children would sit next to the line of oil lamps whose flames were unsteady. They, along with their parents, joined the pieces of colored glass into circles called bangles. As they spent a lot of time in the dark, their eyes would not adapt to the bright sunlight. Many of them lost their eyesight before gaining adulthood. Next paragraph is Savita, a young girl in the drab pink dress, till but no light in her eyes. There was a young girl by the name of Savita who wore a faded pink colored dress. She was sitting with an elderly woman, that is, her grandmother, and they were joining pieces of glasses to make the bangles. Her hands moved like a machine, just like the tongs of a machine. The writer wondered if Savita knew that bangles were scared. They were a good omen for a woman's wifehood. She thought that Savita would realize this when she would become a bride. That day, she would cover her head with a red colored veil, color her hands with henna, and wear red colored bangles on her wrist. The elderly woman sitting next to Savita also became a bride many years ago. She was still wearing the glass bangles but had lost her eyesight now. Next paragraph is एक वक्त शेर भर खाना भी नहीं खाया till initiative and the ability to drill. The elderly woman complained that she had not eaten even a seer of food. Seer, it is a unit of measuring quantity. The woman wants to say that they are so poor that they cannot eat enough food. This is the benefit that she has received by adopting the profession of bangle making. The woman's husband has a flowing beard. He says that he does not know anything other than bangle making. All that he has been able to accomplish to make a house for his family to live in. The writer wonders that probably the old man has achieved something which many other people have not been able to achieve. At least he has been able to secure a shelter for his family. This problem was prevalent in all the homes which carried on the profession. They did not know anything else other than bangle making, and it did not even provide them enough food to eat. The young men who had entered the traditional profession also had the same complaint. With the passing time, there were no improvement in their condition. As they had been doing hard work for countless number of years, they did not have any ability to do something else or to dream of it. Next paragraph is, why not organize yourself into a cooperative till else would mean to dare. Here the writer suggests them to form a cooperative. She talked to a group of men to get out of the clutches of the cruel middleman who had trapped their elders. The men said that if they dared to do something like that, they would be dragged and beaten up by the police and sent to jail. Their acts would be termed to be unlawful. The writer felt that as they had no leader, they would not think of doing things differently. They all were so tired, the men and their fathers. The men complained that it was a continuous process. Their poor condition led to the lack of concern of their problems. This made them greedy and led to injustice. The writer envisioned that there were two separate worlds. One was of such a family who was stuck in poverty and the pressure of doing the traditional profession according to the caste in which they were born. And the other world is never-ending cycle of moneylenders, middlemen, policemen, lawkeepers, government officials and politicians. Both these worlds had forced the young boys to follow the family traditions. The young boys get into the profession and become a part of the vicious cycle, even before they realize it. If they did anything else, it meant that they were challenging these two worlds. Next paragraph is, and daring is not part of his growing up, till few airplanes fly over Firozabad. The boys had not been reared up to be bold so that they could dare to go against the system. The writer was happy to sense that Mukesh had the spark in him. He repeated that he would be a motor mechanic. He wanted to go to the garage and learn the job. The writer asked that as the garage was at a distance from his home, so Mukesh insisted that he would walk up to it. She asked him if he dreamt of flying planes. The boy became silent and refused. He did not know about them as he did not know about planes. Not many planes flew over Firozabad. As he had only seen cars moving around in Firozabad, his dreams were restricted up to them. So here, this is the end of the second story.